Welcome to the Soccer Tavern, where we're discussing the history, culture, and philosophy of the beautiful game. My name is Dave, and in this video, we're talking about the history of Stoke City Football Club. Pull up a seat, and let's start the discussion. Stoke City FC is located in the south-central part of the city of Stoke-on-Trent. Stoke-on-Trent is located in the central part of England in the United Kingdom. The club currently play in the Premier League, and its home ground is called the Bet365 Stadium, which opened in 1997 and holds about 28,000 people. Stoke City Football Club claimed to be the second oldest professional soccer club in the world, although details about their actual formation date remain a bit cloudy. There's a story that in 1863, students from the Charterhouse School formed a soccer club while they were apprentices at the railway company in Stoke. There's very few details and records about this club and/or matches happening from 1863 to 1868. But in September of 1868, a magazine called The Field reported that a new association football or soccer club had been formed in Stoke-on-Trent called the Stoke Ramblers. The founding member of that club was Henry Almond, a former Charterhouse School student. So, it's possible this club was a continuation of the club allegedly formed in 1863, but it's not definitive. What is definitive is that the club began playing in 1868. 10 years later, the club merged with Stoke Victoria Cricket Club and became Stoke Football Club. The club operated under the Stoke Football Club name until the summer of 1925 when King George V visited the then town of Stoke-on-Trent and granted it city status. This was a huge deal for the city, and the club decided to add the city moniker to its name shortly after, thus becoming Stoke City FC that we know today. Stoke City are nicknamed the Potters. The nickname comes from the city of Stoke-on-Trent's history with pottery. The areas that became the city of Stoke-on-Trent were the epicenter of pottery production in the United Kingdom and the world in the 1700s and 1800s. Though the pottery rose to prominence during that time, the pottery industry had existed for centuries even before this. Given the area's deep ties to pottery, it was only natural that the soccer club from the area would have the nickname of the Potters. The club used the city of Stoke-on-Trent's coat of arms until the 1970s. At this time, the Potters changed the crest to a shield shape with the initials SCFC at the top and 4 quadrants on the shield. The SCFC stood for Stoke City Football Club. 2 quadrants on the shield had red and white vertical stripes that mimicked the club's kit, and the other 2 quadrants had a Stafford knot and pottery kiln. Both of these last 2 symbols were references to the area surrounding Stoke-on-Trent. The current crest, which has been used since 2001, was developed with modern branding very much in mind. It is said to have been inspired by AC Milan and was developed by the same design studio that helped design Liverpool's new crest. The club's name is at the top. The red and white vertical stripes are a nod to this club's historical kit colors. 1863 is a reference to the club's possible founding date, which we've already discussed, and the club's nickname of the Potters is at the bottom. I'd like to discuss 3 important events in the club's history in this section. First up, Stoke FC was one of the founding members of the Football League on April 17, 1888 at the Royal Hotel in Manchester. This league laid the foundations for what eventually became the English football pyramid and about a century later, the Premier League. Now let's jump ahead about 85 years. On March 4th, 1972, the club played Chelsea FC in the final of the League Cup at Wembley. Stoke had won a marathon semi-final series against West Ham that included 4 matches just to get to the final. In the final, Stoke jumped out to a lead in the 4th minute through a Terry Conroy header, but Chelsea equalized just before halftime. Stoke scored the winning goal in the 67th minute through George Eastham to win the club's only major trophy in their existence. And finally, the third and last event happened on January 3rd, 1976. There was a massive storm overnight that caused £250,000 worth of damage to Stoke's Victoria Ground stadium roof. The cost to repair the stadium left Stoke in a terrible financial position, and the club was forced to sell off some of its best players. Port Vale helped the Potters out by lending them their home ground, but it wasn't enough as Stoke were relegated to the 2nd Division for the first time in 14 years. Stoke was able to bounce back to the first division a few years later, but this freak storm killed any of the club's momentum that had been building with the solid squad it established in the 1970s. It was incredibly unfortunate timing for the club. Back in the 1970s and 80s, Stoke City FC had one of the most infamous and violent hooligan firms or gangs called the Naughty 40 or N40. At the height of the organization's powers, it had about 400 members that would fight other hooligan firms at matches home and away. Sir Stanley Matthews made 355 appearances for Stoke City and scored 62 goals. Sir Stanley holds the record for the oldest ever player to feature in England's top division. His appearance for Stoke City against Fulham in February of 1965 came shortly after his 50th birthday. The next player I want to talk about is Gordon Banks. He was one of the greatest goalkeepers in history. He won the 1966 World Cup as England's goalkeeper and is known for making the save of the century on Pele in 1970 in a match for England. He made 246 appearances for Stoke after joining in 1967 and won the 1972 League Cup with the club. Unfortunately, later in 1972, a car accident blinded him in one eye and forced his early retirement from the game. The next player is Peter Shilton, who followed in Gordon Banks' footsteps in many ways. He displaced Banks at Leicester City, forcing Banks to join Stoke, and also replaced Banks as England goalkeeper in 1970. Shilton appeared in a record 1,390 matches throughout his career for 11 different clubs. He's England's all-time appearance record holder with 125 caps and is also the record holder for clean sheets with England with 65. Shilton joined Stoke in 1974 and made 110 league appearances for the club before moving to Nottingham Forest in 1977. Finally, Michael Owen is certainly not a club legend as he only made 9 appearances for Stoke, scoring 1 goal. Owen retired from playing at the end of his Stoke contract in 2013, but he's the last English player to have won the Ballon d'Or given to the best player in the world. So he deserves mention here as he won the award in 2001. Tony Waddington managed Stoke from 1960 to 1977. He managed 822 matches for the club, winning 288 of them, and was the manager for Stoke's only major trophy, that 1972 League Cup that we discussed earlier. He was able to attract Stanley Matthews back to the club from Blackpool in the early 1960s and is widely regarded by Stoke fans as the greatest manager in the club's history. Tony is by far the greatest manager in the club's history, but Tom Mather and Bob McGrory also deserve mention here. Mather led the club from 1923 to 1935. Things started a bit rough for him, but he won the 3rd and 2nd division titles and stabilized the club in the 1st division. He also gave Stanley Matthews his debut and was instrumental in developing local players and giving them a chance with the first team. And finally, Bob McGrory took over from Mather in 1935 and managed the club until 1952. McGrory actually joined the club as a player in 1921 and stayed for 31 years between playing and managing. He led the club to its highest ever finish of 4th in the 1st division in the 1935-36 season and possibly could have won the 1st division title if not for the outbreak of World War II. Famously, his wife took one look at the town of Stoke-on-Trent upon arrival in 1921 and got right back on a train to Scotland. The couple stayed married but lived separately for 31 years. McGrory was in Stoke, with Bob venturing back to Scotland in the summers to visit his wife. The Potters have 4 rivals I'd like to highlight here: West Bromwich Albion, Wolverhampton Wanderers, Arsenal, and Port Vale. In addition to being local rivals and playing many times over the years, the West Brom-Stoke rivalry started to really heat up when both clubs were in the old 3rd division in the early 1990s. Both clubs were targeting promotion in the 92-93 season, but their approaches to winning greatly varied. West Brom tried to play attractive, attacking soccer, and Stoke took a more physical, direct approach. The 3 matches that season between the clubs were all won by Stoke, but a rivalry was solidified as both were promoted that year. Stoke and West Brom have met many times across the years in England's different divisions, and West Brom are Stoke's biggest rival. The Wolverhampton Wanderers rivalry comes from Wolves being a nearby rival to Stoke. There's not much detail behind this rivalry beyond just the 2 clubs are located in the same geographic area and have played many times over the years. An additional unlikely rivalry that has popped up in Stoke's Premier League years is Arsenal FC. The rivalry actually stretches back to the early 1970s when Stoke suffered 2 unjust defeats, at least in the eyes of Stoke City supporters, at the hands of Arsenal. Moving forward to the Premier League era, Stoke played Arsenal in November of 2008 and won 2-1 with a stereotypical Stoke performance. Stoke were physical, forcing 3 Arsenal players off injured and scored their 2 goals on long throw-ins that day. Arsenal manager Arsene Wenger complained after the match, and the two clubs have met many times over the years, with Stoke continuing to be very physical and frustrating Arsene and his players. The most physical of these matches came in 2010 when Stoke captain Ryan Shawcross broke Aaron Ramsey's leg in a horror challenge. Stoke's style has changed a bit in recent years away from the physical, but there's still a rivalry here between the two clubs. And finally, Port Vale are Stoke's nearest local rivals, but the two clubs haven't met very often in their existence. The rivalry isn't too great, but Port Vale is worth mentioning here as it is a local derby. The stats and records we're about to discuss are as of March 2018, which is when we are recording this video. Stoke have spent 62 seasons in the top flight in their history. The club's only major trophy is the 1972 League Cup. The club's record first-team appearance holder is Eric Skeels with 597 appearances. The club's record goal scorer is John Ritchie with 176 goals. The Potters' record transfer purchase was Gianni Imbola from Porto in Portugal in February of 2017 for about £18 million. And the club's record transfer sale was Marko Arnautovic to West Ham United in July of 2017 for about £20 million initially, with a potential £5 million more in add-ons. And a couple last interesting facts about the club. Stoke City was instrumental in the addition of both the penalty kick and injury time being added to the rules of soccer. Both incidents happened in 1891. Regarding the penalty rule, Stoke played Notts County in an FA Cup match, and a Notts County player blocked a goal-bound shot with his hands. It resulted in a free kick, and Notts County lined up all 11 players on the goal line to block the shot. The referee from that match didn't think it was fair, so when he became a legislator, he campaigned to introduce the penalty kick inspired by this moment. Now, later in 1891, after the penalty rule was implemented, Stoke were trailing by a goal late in the match against Aston Villa and earned a penalty. But an Aston Villa player picked up the ball and booted it out of the stadium. The referee blew for full time before the ball could be retrieved, and the rules for added time were implemented shortly thereafter. So, there you have it, a bit of history on Stoke City Football Club. Let's continue the discussion in the comment section below the video. Thanks for stopping by the Soccer Tavern. Hope to see you again soon. Cheers.